Your Excellency, thank you for being with us on Sky News Arabia. My first question is, how do you see the economic, trade and investment relationships between the UAE and UK today, and which areas are growing in cooperation between the two countries?
So the UK has strong historical ties with the UAE and very strong economic ties too. We have a memorandum of understanding on financial services between our two countries. And so I've been discussing with ministers and regulators today progress on priority areas within that memorandum of understanding: capital markets, fintech, sustainable finance. We see that both our financial centres are leading in our respective regions, and both are very open and successful.
What are British companies looking for when entering the UAE and Gulf markets? Why is the region an attractive place for British investments?
Well, UAE in particular has a very dynamic economy, having doubled its growth rate in the last decade. There are fantastic opportunities here to invest in growth of the economy and indeed in other parts of the Gulf. And I think the ease of doing business, particularly in the offshore free trade zones, DIFC, for example, is a really much easier way for international business to come here to UAE to do business. And also your very young population, which has got such an appetite for fintech, for other technologies, is also something that attracts UK business here.
Your Excellency, what UK offer today the UAE investors in order to invest in UK?
We as a government are prioritising economic growth and forging ahead with very deep reforms to our planning system to unlock investment in new homes, in infrastructure, in clean energy. We are clearing the way for investment in that infrastructure, which is vital to our economy, but also will give good returns for international investors. We're forging ahead with pensions reform, and we're also setting up a new national wealth fund, which will catalyse £70 billion worth of investment from the private sector. So we are optimistic about the UK's future, but we are absolutely determined to make those deep reforms that are needed, that have slowed us down in the past, that have perhaps not made us as attractive as we should have been to international investors. But we are resolute in our commitment to ensure that the regulatory environment is the best it can be for investors from here and elsewhere.
Your Excellency, as you know, inflation rates reached 3% in January. How much do you think Trump tariffs will impact this? And if inflation stay at this level, could interest rate go up again?
So inflation is a matter for the Bank of England. It is independent. That's in line with international standards. You asked me about President Trump. We are forging a very close relationship with him and his new administration. The Prime Minister is travelling to Washington later this week, Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So I think it's very early days in terms of the new US administration. We look forward to working with them. Last time President Trump was in power, the trade between our two countries, between the UK and the US, increased over that time. So I hope that the same happens this time.
Some predict the UK economy could lose 20 billion in 2 years because of Trump's tariffs. How do you think this will be handled? And will you respond to these tariffs? Are you planning at the same time to explore new markets?
So we have always invested very heavily in our special relationship with the United States. We have a very close intelligence relationship with the United States and a close economic relationship too. But we're always exploring new markets, which is one of the reasons that I am here to further expand our growing economic ties with UAE and other countries in the Gulf.
With the recent talks between the US and Russia about the Ukrainian war, how does the UK see its future support for Ukraine? And will you keep sending military and economic aid?
Yes, we will continue to send military aid. We have committed to sending £3 billion a year to Ukraine for as long as necessary. And the Prime Minister and the entire Cabinet has been very clear that we are steadfast in our commitment to Ukraine, and any peace must involve Ukraine. Its voice must be heard in any negotiations.
with Trump suggesting reducing NATO support and possibly pulling back from American commitments to Europe. We see Europe trying to form a new economic and defense group. Could the UK play a role in this new European group? And what's your opinion on this?
Well, the UK continues to work in close partnership with our European partners to ensure that we protect the security of Europe and to ensure that there is peace on our continent. This is the first time in many years where we've had this war on our continent. It's very concerning. We are not members of the European Union anymore, but we are firmly in the European continent. So it's in our interests, it's in the interests of our European partners that we work together collectively.